her. Like she had to go over there where her reputation didn't so much precede her in order to get a check. So my friends, we need to be a little bit more discerning in our invitations. It was just more inanity, saying absolutely nothing about anything with a huge windup to every single quote unquote point she was about to make. She makes you work so hard. You have to sift through 500 words to get to the 4 that actually do have meaning, but then you realize that those 2 are entirely empty.
I was as surprised as Megyn Kelly to hear Kamala Harris speak at a real estate convention. It created a sensation among those who had never worked in the field before. What exactly was she going to contribute? It's unclear if it was an invitation or a premeditated appearance, but it's another unexpected development in her public life.
Lucky, aren't we, to just get a little bit of this gold dust, that the realtors of Australia are what bring her out of hiding.
Like, for what lessons exactly? First of all, she's never been a salesperson. Don't you have to know sales and very well to be a realtor? Like, that's one of their greatest skills. You'd think they'd want somebody who is an excellent salesperson. She's never been in the public sector doing any sort of sales work whatsoever, other than her fake little stint at McDonald's. But let's face it, those burgers sell themselves. So what could be gleaned from her? First of all, you got to be a little concerned. Like, it'd be one thing if she were in hot demand over here and like she just made time for the Aussies because that's out of the goodness of her heart. Nobody wants her. Like, she had to go over there where her reputation didn't so much precede her in order to get a check.
I'll play the Kamala Harris footage in a moment. But before, let me say something. Megyn Kelly was absolutely right. I left that interview with a horrible headache after only 5 minutes of viewing. It was her attempt to make sense of what she thought she was saying, not the content, because, let's be honest, there was none. The worst part is that she leans in and adopts that serious, even presidential expression, as if she were going to impart some profound wisdom, only to astonish us with the most confusing, nonsensical, and embarrassing jumble of words the world has ever seen. It's like seeing a TED Talk from a magic 8-ball. Are you feeling that I'm being too dramatic?
And then the bits that I saw, because earlier today, at least, it wasn't put out on video, so we were just getting little sneak peeks at it from what my friends over there, got and put online. It was just more inanity, saying absolutely nothing about anything with a huge windup to every single quote unquote point she was about to make. She makes you work so hard. You have to sift through 500 words to get to the 4 that actually do have meaning, but then you realize that those 2 are entirely...
Listen to it. I'll spare you the remainder of Kamala Harris's speech because, to be honest, not a single minute of it made sense. The others? That seems like motivational nonsense. And people paid $1,000 for that. Kamala is known for speaking a lot without really saying much. They ought to have been aware of what they were going into. Buying a ticket to a mime act is like expecting Shakespeare. Megyn Kelly, of course, didn't mince words either.
You are in an interaction where you don't have that level of awareness, they will be aware of that. I mean, this is the thing that I've also known about life, and I'm sure everyone here understands. The vast majority of human beings are very intelligent.
Even though I know I stated there would be no more awkward Kamala moments, this next clip is simply too much. At one point, she talks about how civic leaders in the real estate industry are helping purchasers, whatever that means. Does she support the idea of municipal council members holding open houses? Deciphering her talks is, to be honest, like reading horoscopes created by ChatGPT after consuming too much coffee. She says it all with such confidence, as though she were announcing a big policy, even though it's just more word salad.
Megyn didn't spare Kamala. Her next diatribe was scorching hot.
Basically just giving a version of the same speech wherever she goes, which of course is the laziest possible thing, and they get paid a huge chunk of change. Can I read from one of the newspaper accounts? She said, quote, she said,
please do.
Real estate agents could be considered, quote, civic leaders for their role in connecting buyers with suitable homes. The point, she just turns up anywhere and insert industry or who I'm talking to and tell them that they're civic leaders. They're flogging apartments around Australia and beachside on the Gold Coast. Civic leaders, please.
Honestly, I don't think KLA Harris is cut out for politics or public speech. The gaffes keep piling up faster than anyone can keep up with them. Without the impact, it's like to watching a train crash in slow motion. Only constant confusion and awkward circumstances that leave everyone confused. Speaking in front of a group of people requires self-assurance, clarity, and audience engagement. She seems to regularly suffer with all of these issues. Maybe it's time for her to consider stepping back, quietly stepping out of the political spotlight, and focusing on her career as a lawyer, which she knows very well. It's quite acceptable to depart politely and concentrate on something more important but less obvious. Not every path leads to fame or the White House, and sometimes the best course of action is to know when to leave. Returning to practicing law might be the best course of action for Kamala's reputation and for all of us who are tired of the word salad.
They don't even see themselves like that. Like, they know a lot about houses and what would make somebody happy and what's a good deal and what's not. But civic leaders, what is that? That's like your preacher, probably your mayor, I don't know, some activist in town who's taken up an issue that's important to the town, like no windmills offshore. I don't know. But it's probably not the realtor. And that's just, of course, her empty pablum, because CAA took her on as a client, this big agency that I used to be with too. And I'm sorry to tell you, but you guys were the only takers. So it's very, someone was really excited until they found out, like, literally no one else wanted her. I shudder to think what the check looked like. They cannot get her any gigs over here. No one wants to hear from her.
Kamala Harris at a real estate event? My invitation has not yet been sent to me. In reality, her public persona appears less real and more theatrical. The change from a southern twang to a Midwest charm suggests that she is trying out several accents to find what suits her best. Being real is less essential than fitting in. But the more she tries to connect, the more remote she comes across as. Attention, voters. They're not looking for a chameleon. They're looking for someone trustworthy. And the audience? Her lectures suddenly feel like auditions. Rather than clapping, they are cringing. Even Bill Maher tried to warn us.
Not sell real estate the way the people listening to this show likely can. She couldn't sell herself. So why would you think she would have something of value to say to you about sales, which is the business of real estate? Like, she didn't win the presidency. She didn't win the nomination ever. She couldn't. She failed miserably when she actually did run. She couldn't sell herself as an inspirational woman, nor as a woman from Puerto Rico or Jamaica or where her accent's from. She couldn't sell herself as any of those things. All she really is an out-of-work lawyer. So, I mean, maybe you should ask her about contract law. She might be able to say something valuable on that front. Otherwise, it was a waste.
If the DNC had listened to individuals like Bill Maher, they could have avoided last year's election's crushing setback. Instead, they stepped up their efforts on Kamala Harris despite her low popularity and low acceptance ratings. Her public persona is outdated, her policies are vague, and her speeches sound staged. But the party, which placed more importance on symbols than content, pushed her forward. That wasn't just a mistake, it was political malpractice. Voters could see right through it. If Democrats want to have a chance in 2028, they need to quit ignoring reality and focus on candidates who actually connect with average Americans. Otherwise, instead of just risking losing, they're forfeiting the opportunity to run in the next election. Identity politics may spell the end for the Democratic Party. What once stood for representation has now become a crutch that is used more as a signal of virtue than as a way to get measurable results. Without it, Kamala Harris most likely wouldn't have been given a chance to run for president, let alone be considered for the vice presidency. Her rise was driven entirely by appearances rather than by content, broad support, or a strong policy platform. The DNC seems more focused on appeasing loud, specialized interest groups than it does on uniting Americans on urgent issues like the economy, education, and national security. Instead of fostering trust, this kind of tokenism creates discontent and dissatisfaction. Kamala has come to represent that gap. Voters are realizing that she comes out as more of a show than a leader due to her inconsistent tone, frequent mistakes, and unclear messaging. People are tired of phony relatability and want someone real. If the Democratic Party doesn't give up on theatrical politics and prioritize true leadership, they will keep losing elections that they should have won. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.